This episode may contain adult themes and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Sorry.
What's the trick in making my love stick? What's the trick?
Hello, and welcome to the Film Critic and Common Man podcast. While other film podcasts might want to work on vacation, neither of us has the slightest desire to perform our job outside of work hours. Each episode, we discuss a film from the perspective of a film critic and the perspective of a common man. We may not agree, but certainly won't be boring. I'm your co-host, Ben Miller. I'm a film critic, and I write about films for my own site, Ice Cream for Freaks. I'm joined by my brother and common man and co-host, a man who will gladly save a woman's life by taking off her pants. Jake Miller, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. It doesn't. Hey, I don't have to save life to take off a pants.
It's always, I always love those kind of tropes of like disaster or monster movies. It's like, especially like there's
They have to add a little sex.
It's like, oh, it's a disaster movie. We have to get this girl in a tank top somehow. This is it's always one of those goofy cliches. We are doing something a little different this episode and the next. We're really digging into our childhood nostalgia. Obviously, we talk about all the movies we watched when we were kids. This episode and the next, we're actually doing, this is a two-part movie, two-movie podcast, essentially. We're talking about two separate movies, essentially focusing on ones that we loved as kids, we watched the ever-living hell out of, but we fully admit that probably aren't that good of movies, and we'll kind of dig into each one. We're going to start with the one, the only Hook, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Jim V. Hart and Nick Castle, based on the play by J.M. Barrie, kinda. Starring Robin Williams, Dustin Hoffman, Julia Roberts, Bob Hoskins, and Maggie Smith. Co-starring Charlie Corsmo, Amber Scott, Caroline Goodall, Phil Collins, and Gwyneth Paltrow, I believe in her film debut. Opened on December 11th, 1991, made bank as Spielberg movies have a tendency to do. 119.7 million US, 181.2 million international, 300.9 million on a $70 million budget. Nominated for 5 Oscars: Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Visual Effects, Best Makeup, and Best Original Song for the song "When You're Alone," a song I still don't remember. Even after watch, I think it's the one the daughter sings on the boat.
The little girl sings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between a lot of these movies is we kind of recognize that it's terrible. At the time, critics hated this movie. 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's I mean, even if you don't,
not fair.
Even if you don't like the movie, 29% is pretty.
Come on, guys.
29% critics, 76 audience. I really expected to be way higher for the audience. I mean, it's like 76. I'm like, okay, like 29%. That's a stinker.
Man, if you represent the film critic side of this and I represent the audience side, I'm disappointed in both of us.
Right?
But more so you.
29% is ridiculous. Now
that's tough.
That's a pretty crazy number. I'm gonna give a quick kind of overall plot summary of Hook. I think everybody has an idea of what Hook actually is, but regardless.
Yeah.
Hook is Peter Pan after Peter Pan. So Robin Williams plays Peter Banning. He's a workaholic corporate lawyer and has 2 kids with his wife Maura, Jack and Maggie. And one day they go to England to visit their granny, I guess is how they pointed, Granny Wendy, played by Maggie Smith. And when they go there, they essentially there's all this fighting between the family because Peter's never there. And the kids are kidnapped in the middle of the night, as we know by Captain Hook, but unbeknownst to anybody else, they're just kidnapped. They're gone. Then Tinkerbell shows up in the form of pixie-cutted Julia Roberts and shows up and tells Peter, "You're actually Peter Pan. I got to take you to save your kids," and essentially kidnaps him on to Neverland. And they get to Neverland, and Peter meets Hook, and Hook, played by Dustin Hoffman, He is there, and he's like, well, Dustin Hoffman, also the airline pilot in this movie. Whenever they're flying over, he said, "This is your captain speaking." Also, Dustin Hoffman.
Really?
Yeah. Fun little thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Peter confronts Hook and says, "No, I won't want my kids back." And Hook's like, "You're not Peter Pan. This is nuts. I'll give you." And Tinkerbell kind of makes a compromise. Says, "I'll give me 3 days, and I'll get him back to Pan you expect, and you can have your big battle to the death." So Peter goes to the Lost Boys, and they kind of teach him everything they have to do with the Neverland and being the Lost Boy and everything. Meanwhile, Hook and Smee are essentially trying to indoctrinate the kids and brainwash them into being against Peter. And all the while, Peter eventually accepts the terms of what he is. He becomes, he learns to fly again. Obviously, my teenage hero Rufio is there. He conducts a plan, is able to go back and attempts to save his kids. There's some fraught stuff back and forth with the kids. He does succeed. Rufio is killed by Captain Hook. Peter's about to take his kids and go without killing Captain Hook, but changes his mind after Captain Hook says he's going to hunt down his kids again. They fight, and eventually he is eaten by the reanimated corpse of a taxidermy crocodile that took his hand initially. So Jack and Maggie go back to London with Tinkerbell, and then Peter gives the new leader of the Lost Boys is the appropriately named Thudbutt, as the new leader of the Lost Boys. And they go back and they live happily ever after back in the real world. Then that's that. And then Toodles sprinkles pixie dust on himself and flies off, and everybody all of a sudden it's like, why is this old guy flying out of nowhere? So a very
but I mean, it's fine. He's got Alzheimer's.
It's fine. The guy's lost his marbles. This is a movie I would venture we watched at least 50 times. It was on a lot. And we watched it a lot. To the point where when you rewatch it, you almost, it's very it's like muscle memory with your actual memory. You're just like, oh, I know what next line's coming up. I know what else is coming around the corner. Spielberg does it's kind of what Spielberg does. It's a very like kid-friendly environment in general. And everything about it is mostly especially like the Lost, and at the same time it's 1991, so the Lost Boys are like roller skating and they have a half pike and they're playing basketball and all these kind of silly things.
I love the imaginary food fight.
It is really great because it essentially like the interesting thing about the idea of the Lost Boys in general, and it's probably why kids and people are so attracted to the story in general, is like, oh, well, I get to be a kid, but at the same time, I don't have any parents, but I also don't have any fear. Like the inherent fear of being a kid by yourself is gone. And in this case, it's like, no, we're by ourselves. We're handling it very well. You just need a little imagination and everything kind of works out great. That's definitely, what could appeal to kids. And it's kind of funny that we're revisiting some of these movies from our childhood, because I think one of the appeals of Hook really is the nostalgia. Absolutely. I mean, we also grew up watching Peter Pan, the Disney cartoon version. Yes.
I mean, and our parents, I mean, it's a ubiquitous story. So, I mean, everyone's familiar with it. So it's something, there's already a strong foundation there. And so I think for kids, maybe it's a new opportunity, to imagine and stuff like that. And for parents, maybe it's more reminiscing,
And at the same time, Spielberg has famously daddy issues. And this movie really, like, he's not a credited screenwriter, but you cannot tell me there's a lot of stuff he did not like. I want this in there. Like specifically the banning children, Jack and Maggie are in school essentially from Captain Hook. And Captain Hook is trying his best to get these kids on the side of like your parents don't like you. And he said the things he's saying, everything he says, I'm just like, oh man, I don't like this. Like
cutting, yes.
Like when before you were born, your parents used to just sit up and watch the sunrise.
They used to be happy.
Before you were born, your parents were happier, and just like you're better off not being here. And then like even like it doesn't work on Maggie because essentially her relationship with with Robin Williams has not been soured yet, and Jack is more than willing to go to the other side of and essentially and the fresh memory of like, hey, he went to her recital, you went at your baseball game, and you're just like, oh, I don't.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
you kind of it's very like almost cultish.
Almost, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's almost kind of anti-dad, but it's redemptive of dad.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, you know, the good guy realizes he needs to be a better dad, and we can only hope he becomes a better dad after this. But
and the titular dad being Robin Williams, the perfect actor for children to love. Just especially as a viewer, you're just like, oh, this rubber faced guy who is just having a blast. He's a little manic, and he's much more mannered in this movie than other movies.
Yes.
But you can tell whenever he finally gets to fly, and he kind of has that like little moment when he's talking to Tinkerbell.
He gets to crowing and everything.
He gets to he gets to crow, he gets to be silly in those little moments, like, and his improv, like when you're talking about the titular Foo fight, and he said, rude, crude, lewd dude, or all that kind of ad-libbing stuff, just like, well, they didn't write that, just they let Robin Williams just spin him up. Why do you think Robin Williams is the guy? Like, why is it such a like? I know much more adults who are soured on Robin Williams comedies wise, but much more dramatic of him. But man, the comedy side of it, it's just so kid specific.
Yeah. And I mean, I can think of like Mrs. Doubtfire and other things that have suited him very well, where it's a combination of drama and comedy. I think that's where he was great. I mean, yes. I can see people kind of, if he's just in full-blown comedy mode nonstop, I can see how people can kind of go like, whoa, he's much.
One of our grandmothers famously hated him for that exact reason. Yeah. I mean, it's
he's
a lot.
Just too crazy.
It's a lot.
But I think certain roles are just so suited for him, because I think he was a sweet, sensitive dude. Like in real life, I really do. And overly sensitive and overly worried about what people thought about him and stuff like that, and obviously his life ended tragically, but he had just such a good way of being sweet and nice and deep, and then being a complete goofball off the wall.
Yes.
And just making that transition. I think that's why it's good, is because it can kind of appeal to everybody, he can hit you in the feels, and then he can make you laugh, you know?
And he's such a good, it's also fun to see him as Peter Pan with shaven arms, because he's
notoriously hairy.
Hairy Robin Williams with carefully shaved arms. You're like, sure, whatever. It's there's a lot of what there's just such little interesting, like, you think of the 5 Oscars it was nominated for, art direction specifically, like the sets of like the ship the where the Lost
The
Boys are,
pirate town.
pirate town, all of that stuff.
Oh
is
my
like
gosh, that
so
it's
intricately
nuts.
cool.
Yeah.
Just a lot of cool, interesting things. A very, very worthy nomination on that art direction.
Yeah.
You know, like I just, you think of the ins and I think of Captain Hook's bedroom. Like he's in there eating and he like spins that wheel and down comes his bed. You're just like all that cool stuff and just kind of lay it, like it feels atmosphere wise. You're like, man, this is
it's the ultimate RV.
pretty much, yeah. It's an RV that goes places.
You know, you remember like sleeping in our granddad's
Absolutely.
RV and we were like, it's a bed above the driver's seat.
Like if somebody wanted
Like-
to, we could just drive right now. This is wild. Like, yeah.
Like
it's
this is we made it.
we such silly little kid logic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's stuff like that that appeals to kids. I mean, it's just that cool imagination. I mean, it's almost reminds me of you know, like the Lego movies almost.
yes. It's almost,
you know
like
what I mean?
just whatever your imagination comes up
Whatever
with
you
is
want to create.
I mean, they have there's like a skateboard sail track that's cool to have. They have obviously all these interesting little nooks and crannies of all these different places where they all sleep, insides of trees, you know, all those little like cool things you wanted as a kid that you didn't have. Yeah.
It's almost like Roblox.
Yeah.
You know how kids make their own
Yep.
wacky. I mean, yeah, this is a crazy fantasy world, you know. And if you're a little kid and you want to be a pirate, man, that'd be a cool place to be one.
It's funny, like the thing about this movie, there was a lot of production issues with it. It was very expensive for the time. 70 million at the time was very expensive to make. The sets obviously show off how expensive it is. And apparently Julia Roberts was at a tough point of her life. I think she was going through some personal issues, and apparently they nicknamed her Tinker Hell on this movie because she was just an absolute terror to be on. And you know, it's funny looking back on it. I always think,
was it the loss of Lyle Lovett?
Well, it is around like it's that type of time where like, and this is, I think not immediately after Pretty Woman, but I mean, Pretty Woman is very soon before this. So she's not like, okay, so she makes like, she was in Steel Magnolias, which essentially got her famous. It was essentially like famous. And then she was in Pretty Woman in 1990. And so like that comes out and they're like, okay, not only are you famous now, you're in this huge movie and you are the lady. And there's probably a combination of that and personal issues and all that kind of stuff coming together in a terrible time in this person's life, not being able to handle it. And you're young, she's probably like 27 or something like that. Looks great, and though looks really good in a pixie cut. Yeah, I would argue it's one of the more attractive. See, that's the other trick about this is like,
if only she wasn't this big.
If Tinkerbell wasn't this big, and for that little moment when she gets big, you're just like, yes.
Wait.
Oh no.
You know when you get lost, they tell you to hug a tree?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
God.
What was that?
The other
moving on.
The other thing, like, this is a very non-sexual movie, completely outside of that one little part. Like, it's a kid's thing. It's not really in any sort of way. The Spielberg daddy issues are pretty well documented from a history of movies, but this is just another in a long. Parents in general, it's kids not being able to deal with their parents and having issues with their parents. Okay, so let's get down to it, Jake.
Okay.
I know for the sake of us and how many times we've seen this, we enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
But is it bad? Is it a bad movie?
I don't think it's a bad movie.
I don't think it's a bad movie either. Like,
and I don't and I think this will be better demonstrated after we review this next one coming right up.
Yes.
But even watching it now, I'm like, it's good. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, I mean, I don't get that critics review on that. I mean, come on. And I mean, maybe it seems hokey or something like that, but
yeah,
I mean,
syrupy is the word a lot of critics use.
Okay.
But I mean, they said giving into the critical consensus from Rotten Tomatoes, the look of Hook is lively indeed, but Steven Spielberg directs on autopilot here, giving in too quickly to his sentimental syrupy qualities. I guess, but I mean, like, and you know, it's all half the reviews. It's kind of like Hook never set sail. What's the hook? You know, it's kind of like, okay, how smart are you supposed to be? Like with certain movies, I know how to park myself in a critical space. I can't. I like. I'm not going into every movie expecting it to blow me away. And if it doesn't blow me away, like a movie like The Lost City with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, I'm going into that going like, it doesn't matter what, like, oh, you know, this is stupid. This was stupid. It's like, yeah, but who cares? This is movie stars being movie stars. Like, you're not expecting certain things. And I think people just got into a mode with Spielberg where they're like, they were expecting too much. They're like, this guy made The Color Purple, and this guy made this, and he's got Schindler's List coming up. Like, and to expectations, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it would kind of be, I mean, it would be the same thing if I was a film critic for Marvel comic movies. It wouldn't be fair.
No.
Because I'm not, that's just not my thing. You know?
Yes.
And so it would be difficult for me to say, hey, it was well done, well acted, blah, blah, blah. Because the whole time I'd be like, I'm just not a superhero guy for the most part.
Yeah, you're going into it with expectations that you're not going to enjoy it. And you really have to elevate yourself over. I just reviewed a film, a DC Comics movie called Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And after I was done, I was thinking, there's nobody going to accidentally stumble into this movie. Nobody's going to be like, oh, this is a sequel to a movie that I guess people saw that made money. Nobody's going to accidentally walk in and be like, I really like that. It's like, you're either going to be sitting down there watching it or you're not going to watch it. That's the two.
Yeah.
Nobody's on the fence about these things. And I think with Hook, they kind of went in there going, okay, Spielberg, this is a Spielberg movie as opposed to a Peter Pan movie, which is probably not
right.
It's more of a Peter Pan movie. Like,
well, exactly. I mean, okay, a Spielberg movie. Okay, so is Saving Private Ryan. Probably the most realistic graphic depiction of the storming of Normandy beaches ever.
Yes.
And also, he can make a fun retelling of Peter Pan that both parents and kids can enjoy. So, yeah, I think a bunch of critics got on their high horse or something on that one. I don't know.
It's you know, it's kind of, you look at I always point to 1993 as kind of the Spielberg nexus because he makes Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. You're like, okay, so
exactly.
So you like
perfect.
People love Jurassic Park because of the technical marvel of everything. And I think with this is just like, well, they're just not what they were expecting. Like with dinosaurs, you can kind of imprint your own. You're like, this is nothing. Like, dinosaurs are never been put on film before. Now I can actually see them in the technical marvel and the incredibleness of it all. Peter Pan, I guess, was probably just retreaded.
Yeah. Well, it is a retread, but you know, sometimes retreads are, I really, really like them. Yeah. And sometimes they're the worst.
Yeah. It's like, why would you redo that? I know you got a good example.
Go ahead. Well, the one that comes to mind for me, and this isn't a retread of a movie necessarily, but what was the movie Noah?
Yes.
About Noah's Ark?
Yes, with Russell Crowe, yeah.
That was terrible.
I've not seen it. I've heard nothing but bad.
It's terrible. And like thinking about it, I was like, that would make a great premise for a movie, like the logistics of animals and everything. And then once the flood comes in, there's gonna be a mob.
Yes.
You're gonna have to fight people off, like you're the last chopper out of Nam, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and it was horrible. It was ridiculous. It was stupid.
Yeah. And
I hate it.
And I mean,
I wish the art had gone down.
I'm going to dog on Spielberg a little bit because he made remade West Side Story last year. And I watched it and did not enjoy it because it was trying to be almost, it was gritty, but occasionally people break into songs. Like it was a lot, like it was well performed, and and art wise, it's always
it's really, like Training Day the musical.
It's just,
it's like you can either be gritty or you can be a musical, but
you can't really skirt those lines. Yeah. So I mean, but we both are big fans of Hook. You agree about this? Anything else before we move on to our next movie you want to add?
Just only thing on Hook is I thought that the actor who played Smee, I think I previously mentioned this in an episode.
Okay.
I misspoke, but I thought that was Phil Collins.
No. Phil Collins is a policeman in he's whenever the kids get kidnapped. He is the Scotland Yard policeman. The great Bob Hoskins.
I thought Bob Hoskins was Phil Collins.
Oh, I love Bob Hoskins. Bob Hoskins is great.
But I think someone told me that, and it just got stuck in my head.
He's in the movie.
But you know what? It was all just a pack of lies.
Oh, that's how it works.
But I legitimately thought Bob Hoskins was Phil Collins.
Well, in fairness, like they're not look-alike.
Short,
like
kind of pudgy, balding Englishman.
I love Bob Hoskins. There's a movie he made
I do
called
too.
Mona Lisa. It's a great movie from the 80s. Obviously, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. A lot of stuff in the last couple of years. Passed away like 5 years ago, but always great to see Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about Hook. Now the flip side of that, another film we definitely never owned this film. We definitely never had a copy of it, but it was on TV ad nauseum.
If a physical copy of that exists, I will pay upwards of $100 for it.
The other movie from our childhood the flip side, this is probably terrible. We're talking about the film Tremors, the greatest film about graboids in cinema history. Tremors, directed by Ron Underwood, written by Britt Maddock and S.S. Wilson, starring a feather-haired Kevin Bacon, if there ever was a feather-haired Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, and Reba McEntire, co-starring Bobby Jacoby, Charlotte Stewart, Tony Gennaro, Ariana Richards, and Victor Wong. Opened about a year, almost 2 years before Hook, on January 19th, 1990. Did not make a whole lot of money. $16.7 million on a $10 million budget. Shamefully snubbed from the Oscars, as you could imagine. I want to get into some award stuff from this movie later, but no awards. Now, Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know the Rotten Tomatoes score from Tremors?
I think I saw it. Yeah.
88% from critics, which is insane. How is this?
I totally would have understood that if the score from Hook was on this one, I'd get it. I'd say, okay.
I've never been more shocked at a Rotten Tomatoes score in my life. Like, I understand how we love it. because
someone's getting paid under the table, right?
It's insane. It's insane. 88%. We'll get into that. Anyways, 75% audience score, a lower audience score than Hook. But still.
These don't make sense. Maybe that's why we're going over them.
A quick plot on Tremors. If the extensive plot that is Tremors. The main characters of Val McKee and Earl Bassett, played by Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. They're handymen working in Perfection, Nevada, in the Sierra Nevada mountains. They're heading to the nearest town, but they discover a dead body of another resident hanging from power lines. Because essentially he died of dehydration because he didn't want to come down because he thought he was going to get eaten. Later, an unseen creature kills a guy and a couple, and then buries their station wagon. A little shady on the logistics of how that actually works, of how the car actually gets buried.
Ben, listen.
let's not delve too much into the details.
No, I've got it figured out.
Okay, please tell me how the station wagon gets buried.
They burrow underneath it, create a cavity, which is a sinkhole. It falls in there, and then it's easy to just shove the dirt right up there.
I guess that's true. They are shown to have a little bit of intelligence later in the movie. Oh, anyway, so
okay.
These two construction workers are killed after Val and Earl, because they think there's a serial killer because they're idiots. They find the phone lines are dead because of a rock slide. So it tries to take their car, but they drive off and it kind of rips one of the worms out. So they get to ride to Bixby, where they find the station wagon and the couple are obviously dead. There they find they get on horses, which as soon as you see that, you're like, well, this is like, if all the stuff here happened, you're like, well, that's not going to help anything. So they're able to flee as the monster is chasing them. And is it a drainage ditch, concrete wall, an aqueduct? Yeah. So
a culvert type deal, a drainage system. Yeah.
Tries to go through the concrete, kills itself accidentally.
Rams its head right in the wall.
Head right into the wall. This movie's gross, by the way, really gross.
It is.
Anyway, so Rhonda Lebec, a graduate student doing seismology tests in the area, stumbles on this scene and they deduce that there are other worms in the area. They are trapped overnight on boulders, and then they have to essentially pole vault their way onto other cars, and they're able to escape. They go to the town, but the worms come and attack the town, killing store owner Walter Chang, my man Victor Wong. By the way, that's always the lasting image for me, is as soon as he gets picked up,
just like
he's going like this, but for some reason his nose is bleeding immediately.
I thought the exact same thing. I had never noticed it ever before.
That's the lasting image. For some reason, as soon as his
as soon as he gets bit, his
nose bleeds. No reason. It's so strange. Anyway, so he's.
I mean, how do you know what happens when you get bit by a tremor, man?
You're not wrong. So everybody gets on the roof and everybody trying to escape. They're communicating by radios, and their survivalist couple, Bert and Heather Gummer, played by Michael Gross and Reba McEntire, in just a tour de force performance. They do manage to kill one of the creatures using an elephant gun, I believe. Shot by Reba McEntire doesn't knock her off her feet every time, which is a little unrealistic. So they kill one.
I believe a model like that would be a 500 Express or something like that. And there's not,
You need to brace it probably against like a table or something like that it's called an elephant.
I wouldn't even.
It's called.
I wouldn't try.
I
wouldn't even try it.
So they're able. No, it's fine. They're able to kill it, and they go to their roof, and they're trying to figure out how to lure them away. And one of the other townspeople, Nestor, gets killed. they tried to escape through a nearby route range on a tractor. Yeah, a tractor,
bulldozer,
a bulldozer being pulling a tractor. And the worms essentially make a ditch to strand them. They get stranded on rocks, and then they
see,
they're actually thinking about it.
That's how they do it.
So Bert makes
I'm telling you.
Bert, as Berts are willing to do, make homemade pipe bombs to kill one. And there's one more left, and they're kind of stuck on the side of a mountain. Kevin Bacon decides he's going to try to lure it. He throws a pipe bomb to scare it towards him. He jumps out of the way, and the Tremor goes flying, lands on the rocks, and explodes like a bad Hot Pocket. And they go away, and they get away, and that is that.
They said there was only 4 of them. All right.
So
what was it, 4 or 5 of them? But
yeah, something like that. I realized something as whenever they were doing the pole vaulting across rocks. I'm like, this is the Floor is Lava, the movie. Like it's that
completely.
Now I understand why kids like it so much. Like it's such a game that you always play. And it's,
I don't know anyone that didn't have some version of that. It's water full of piranhas or sharks, or it's lava, it's fire, it's and jumping all across all the furniture that you don't even realize how much your parents spent on.
We had a huge sectional couch as kids, a big L, and it was so perfect because you could take off the pillows, and they were the little islands you could hop around. We play that all the time, and this essentially is the perfect version of Floor is Lava. Now, do you have, so on Wikipedia there is a graboid illustration like it's an actual animal. I highly recommend anybody to go check out the Wikipedia entry for the movie Tremors, and it's called a graboid, by the way, what a tremor is called.
Okay. Yeah.
So I mean,
the old graboid.
Do you want to know more about this, or is the less the best? The less you know about the animal, the more interesting the movie is?
Well, I would like to know what the hell it is, where it came from.
Well, I'm not talking about you I'm talking about you as the viewer. Like, is the creature more interesting? The fact that it's just in the West, it's a thing that eats people, travels into the sand, and
well, we can kind of go back to our October Halloween, scary movies. Is a lot of times the unknown is much more frightening than the seen and understood. So I guess it varies on whether you want to see the monster, or if it's more intense for it to just be unknown beneath your feet.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such like the idea of, and every time I see the movie, I'm like, man, I don't know how these things can move under the dirt like this, because this is not like sand. This is like Sierra Nevada desert. It's like, this is not like, oh, this is loose gravel. It's like, no, this is some hard clay.
Do you know what I thought?
What?
So, okay, I work out in a lot of areas near oil field sites and everything.
Sure.
And our dad worked in the petroleum industry, and we live down in that area. I thought if a drilling company could train one of these motherfuckers to drag pipe, dude, gas would be like 12 cents.
You know those anytime there's a movie with like a killer animal, and there's always one guy from the government who's like, they're going to be the new bioweapons. This is
right.
I wish there was that would be great. There's some guy from ExxonMobil going like, okay, we need to hook a gas line on this guy, and then do you know our profit margins? And it's like
yeah. So
I love it.
I'm patenting that idea. It's and registered and all that stuff. So if Tremors actually comes true, I'm gonna figure out how to make a dime on it.
Okay, so the other thing about Tremors, and I guess probably it's just more the idea of how old we are whenever this like, yeah, it came out in 1990. We probably didn't watch it until 93, 94, something like that. And as you know, you get older, you kind of see things about this movie you don't really think about like the first time you saw it, especially Finn Carter, the lady, Finn Carter, who plays her name is Rhonda Lebeck. Rhonda, a very attractive lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and essentially like the epitome of like a random attractive lady who is in a 90s movie who you never see again. Like,
right.
It's like you've never seen her do
like we've
else.
got a
It's like we need a and this movie is very,
and of course they have to take off
have to
pants.
get a pants. Yeah, just like exactly. You have to get off her. Why does she need to lose her pants? It's like, well, we have to have a reason to
because
yes, it's a cheesy monster movie. We have to have a reason to have the lady take her pants off. But I think you'll agree with me. This movie is, I love Kevin Bacon. This movie is very poorly acted.
Whew. It's a tough one. Yeah. I like a lot of Kevin Bacon stuff.
Yeah.
But this was obviously real early and real raw, and I'll take whatever I can get. Kind of.
I mean, Kevin, there's how much of this movie is Kevin Bacon going, whoa, or something, or like there's
I've got a plan.
and
just running,
and with that,
I will say he's a fast son of a bitch.
See, this is another thing. This is especially
unless they sped it up.
In action movies, this is always a little pet peeve of mine. Whenever they're like, oh, they're running for their lives, and you can tell the actor is running like 75%. You're like, not in this one. Bacon is hustling. Like,
yeah, he looks like a dude that's just hauling ass.
It's always fun to have those kind of things. You know, so I wanted to talk about the nominees for the Saturn Awards in 1991. The Saturn Awards are the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. It is a odd mix of films. Like when they say sci-fi, they really kind of like, it's a catch-all for whoever they want to nominate.
Right.
I'll give you an example for the Best Actor nominees that year. Jeff Daniels wins for Arachnophobia, a classic. Nominated along with him, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall, Ed Harris in The Abyss, Jack Nicholson in Batman, Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Patrick Swayze in Ghost, Warren Beatty and Dick Tracy, which I don't know why Dick Tracy is sci-fi. Liam Neeson in the truly sci-fi crazy movie Darkman, and whoever Axel Jodorowsky is for Santa Stingray. But I mean, it's just give you an example of a wide swath going on there. I bring this up because I want the Best Supporting Actress, or Best Supporting Actress category that year. So obviously Ghost and all these kind of movies are, in Total Recall and Back to the Future are a part of it. So Best Supporting Actress, Whoopi Goldberg wins for Ghost. She wins Best Supporting Actress that year, actually, at the Oscars. Julia Roberts is nominated for the movie Flatliners. A lady from The Witches, a girl from Total Recall, Mary Steenburgen in Back to the Future Part 3, Kim Basinger in Batman. Very, very good nominees. But two nominees also, Finn Carter in Tremors, and Our Lady, Reba McEntire. So she is nominated for something in this movie. She doesn't really do much. Like on this last time watching it was just kind of like, why is Reba McEntire here? She just kind of like is the compliment to weird ass the you know, oh, we have to have a lady survivalist and not just the one crazy Bert. I know you love Reba McEntire. I'm sorry to besmirch her name.
No, I'm not sure why that ever happened, my man.
and she does nothing like it's She does nothing interesting in this movie. She does not have some big soliloquy. She's just kind of there.
You know, the funny thing, if you notice, watch her the entire time, she doesn't really act or perform in a movie. It's just...
It's like, wait, we're just going to have Reba McEntire on set. Might as well film it.
Give her guns.
I guess technically she is the one who killed the Graboid with the elephant gun,
Wow,
like we said.
That's true. I'm
a
misogynist.
Okay, so these I want to talk about the survivalists for a second. When it breaks through the wall.
Yeah.
So they are obviously very big gun people, and you would think they would know a little bit about guns and their impact. But that thing breaks through the wall. Its whole face is in the wall. And they make some odd choices before they actually get the elephant gun. Like, I really like the flare gun.
Yeah.
That was fun. It's like, oh, you know what's gonna fix this? Flare gun. It's like, I'm double fisting pistols, and this thing is not even flinching. Flare gun's gonna fix it.
Yeah, but you've got this like massive caliber thing. Like, yeah, you've got practically a cannon back here, but
okay, so I guess my question is, so we talked about we think Hook is not a bad movie. Now we do think Tremors is a bad movie.
Yes.
Tremors is a bad movie. Doesn't mean I won't watch it. Doesn't mean I still continually won't watch it.
It doesn't mean I don't like it.
Doesn't mean I don't like it.
I do like it, but it's terrible.
So where was the disconnect? Why do critics look at Hook and say, nope, it's not what we wanted? And they look at Tremors and goes, nailed it. 86%, 88%. I like, is it just
like how?
Is it just the factor
based on what?
Is it just the factor of expectations? Is it just like you have these, I guess just whenever this movie shows up and Kevin Bacon with that goofy ass hair shows up, you're just like, this is, it can't get worse than this. And you immediately, I guess it immediately like, oh, okay. And you sit in and this is what you're getting. And there's like, well, that was fun. Was it good? No, 5 stars. Like,
maybe it's the ultimate, what would we say, Fairgrounds cheeseburger?
Yes, it is. But it's the one that eventually you realize it's like, did I have a tape?
But it gave you diarrhea later though.
Yeah, like Hook is the thing where you go to the fair.
Or it's, yeah, go ahead.
Hook is like you go to the fair and you eat it and you're like, man, that was really good. And everybody said, you ate that thing? That was a piece of crap. And you're like, what? Why? You're like, I
thought it was
it.
Fine.
I'll keep going back and more. And you don't even get the diarrhea or anything. And then this one, they're like, yeah, it's terrible. It's supposed to be bad. Hey, that was pretty good. Like, I mean,
everyone's like, okay, we're all getting high cholesterol. Okay, we're all in.
Well, maybe
we know it's terrible, but goddamn, is it worth it?
With Hook, you get to the fair early. You're clear-headed. You've worked out that day, and then you eat it. You're like, but with
you didn't pregame,
pregame with Tremors, you're 7 rides in. You've had way too much to drink. You've already had 3 candy apples. You're like, you know what?
Yeah.
You know what sounds good?
A fucking roasted turkey leg.
It's like, you know what?
That's been hanging in that trailer for 3 hours. That's exactly what I need.
Turkey's been dead for 4 weeks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's now okay. So the floor is lava is essentially the big appeal of this movie, right? Like that's the whole thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So. I will. So, Tremors, as stupid as it is, if I wanted to psychoanalyze this thing,
sure,
and find the appeal for it, if I could go as deep as I can on a very shallow movie,
yes,
I would say that what appeals to people on this movie with them finding high ground, getting on the rocks, that whole floor is lava thing is the same thing I think we've discussed before, is that same thing like when it's raining and you're in a tent, or
Yes.
it's snowing outside, but
You're
I'm in my
warm.
nice comfy house.
I'm safe.
So I think there's like a psychological thing of like, okay, that's bad. I know it's bad. I know that's deadly, but right now I'm fine. I'm safe. And is that not life?
And some of the more interesting, like memorable
Tremors.
scenes are not exactly ones where you're like, I really like whenever they kind of like survey everything. Like so and so's on his RV. You see them on their little mobile home. You see everybody on top of the mini mart. You see them on their little compound. Everybody's got their little spots, and
Yeah,
it's like
they're islands.
little forts and islands. Yeah, exactly. It's the safety. It's like, I don't know what's going down there, but I'm safe and sound up here in my little. That's a good way to put it. I really appreciate your. How do I dig deep on a shallow movie? You're really getting down there.
I mean, I had to go deeper than the Graboids to get to that, but
I get it. All right, let's take a quick break. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Before we take a break, go ahead.
No, I've just got one personal anecdote on Tremors,
please,
that I have to share before I forget. But so we watched this like crazy as kids.
All the time.
Loved it. It was a masterpiece in my head. And then fast forward, I was about 20 in college, little apartment, Huntsville, Texas. Had a lady friend over.
You know what?
Had a few drinks. No, everything was progressing well, I thought. And I was like, oh, Tremors. Because she was like, let's watch a movie, maybe a scary movie.
Okay.
And Tremors happened to be on. And I was like, oh, this is great. I used to watch this all the time.
Oh,
I can tell you one thing. I didn't have sex that night.
So did you have to like just live in its badness, or was she just like, man, all this goo is really turning me off? Or
no, I think she thought, if this guy thinks this is good, then I don't need to be with him. He's probably got diseases or something.
A bad film ruins yet another relationship.
But hey, Tremors, the ultimate birth control.
You can, if there is a DVD, that needs to be on the pull quote, baby. I get it. Oh, good God. Let's take a break.
Okay, now we should take a break.
We'll come right back.
See.
All right, we are back. Every week, I go through a filmography of a filmmaker and put Jake's cinematic knowledge to the test. It is time for Poll for a Dumbass. But since it's two different films, and I had the opportunity, I am going to be a little mean to Jake. Jake, we have the man, the myth, the feathered hair himself, Mr. Kevin Bacon, a man who has been married to the same woman for the last 35 years. Good for him. Never been nominated for an Oscar, but I want to talk about Kevin Bacon, and I want him. Let's see, he's in Tremors, so I have to be able to connect it to Hook. So I thought we could play a little bit of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So Jake,
man, you're good at this shit, and I'm not.
So, but I'm not going to go too crazy or anything, and anything works. I want you to connect Kevin Bacon in the best, and I'll help you out the best I can along the way. I want you to connect Mr. Kevin Bacon to the star of Hook, not Robin Williams, a guy we did not talk about at all, Dustin Hoffman. Can you connect? See, the thing with Kevin Bacon, you just got to find a movie and you just got to go from there. Like, that's why Kevin Bacon that's why it's so good, because he goes in so many genres. He's in a lot of ensembles. And Dustin Hoffman obviously been in a lot of stuff. Okay, wait. Let's talk it out. Keep on. Come on. We got it.
Tremors?
Yes.
Apollo 13.
Yes. A lot of people in Apollo 13.
That's about as far as I can go.
Okay, so Apollo 13. We have Ed Harris. We have Tom Hanks. We have Bill Paxton. Who else we have in Apollo 13?
Ed Harris.
Gary Sinise.
Yeah. Okay. Wait.
You got it. I feel it.
No.
Okay. Let's work backwards. Hoffman.
Okay.
Outside of Hook, what do you think of when you think of Dustin Hoffman? It's been a lot of stuff. Do you know he's in Dick Tracy?
No.
He's the Mumbles.
Yeah. Okay.
So you got Dick Tracy, you got Rain Man, you got I got a good easy one. Right
okay,
now.
Rain Man. Yeah.
Okay. Who's he in Rain Man with?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise was in anything. He's been in a lot of stuff.
Top Gun.
Sure. What about military adjacent instead of directly military?
Okay. Wait. Stripes or not stripes. I'm not
Taps. I appreciate the Taps reference. I was thinking more 90s and maybe more courtroomy.
Okay, A Few Good Men.
Okay, who is in A Few Good Men?
Gene Hackman.
Kevin Bacon.
Oh shit, he's a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's a website. My brain don't work like yours does, bud. So there's a website called the Oracle of Bacon. It's a great thing to ever look into. Kevin Bacon to Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman is a Bacon number 1 because he was in the movie Sleepers. You remember Kevin Bacon in Sleepers? He is the lead guard of a children's correctional institute, and he rapes kids, and they grow up to be Brad Pitt and Jason Patrick. You don't remember this? Oh, Sleepers is a dark movie. Okay, so
I don't think so.
These
sounds like if I had seen it, I'd remember it.
So these four, it's kind of taken place. It takes place in 2 different timelines. Kevin Bacon is killed by these 2 guys in this bar, and it flashes back to these kids who accidentally paralyze a guy in the subway due to a prank. So they're sent to like a juvenile hall, and Kevin Bacon is the lead guard at this juvenile hall. And he essentially tortures and sexually assaults these kids the entire time they're there. And Robert De Niro is a priest, is a good priest on the kids' side. And then they grow up, and 2 of the boys kill them, and the 2 other boys of the 4 essentially conspire to get these guys off for killing Kevin Bacon. It's a dark but fascinating movie if you've ever seen Sleepers. It's Dustin Hoffman is there, yeah. So okay, so let's just I knew you wouldn't be very good at 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. So let's just knock out a couple of the big Kevin Bacon movies just for the sake of keeping you on task. His first ever movie, 1978. I believe you've seen it. He plays Chip Diller. He is eventually run over in the street in National Lampoon's Animal House.
Yes.
His first movie, shockingly, in 1978, is in some other stuff. The kind of, not necessarily the movie that launched him to stardom, but a little more people saw Kevin Bacon. Do you remember him getting an arrow through the neck in Friday the 13th?
Yeah. Yep.
We watched that. We watched that together and laughed hysterically the entire time.
Is that in our uncle's camper?
Sure was.
There.
We watched that movie hysterically laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
We were probably too young to be watching it, but we never found it scary. That was in 1980. Obviously, okay. I just want to ask, have you seen Footloose?
Yes.
Okay. So I had more known about what Footloose is rather than seen it. And I saw it the other day. That movie is not what I expected it to be. I expected nothing but like, oh, we're dancing. People don't want us to dance. Like a guy beats the shit out of his girlfriend at one point. They're burning books. Like it is some wild stuff. And then it just happens to be dancing all in the middle of it. So
yeah, it's basically like this Nazi takeover, like book burning, no dancing allowed.
Real wild movie. But that's the movie that essentially got him to superstardom. He's in a bunch of terrible stuff in the 80s. Little, here big thing here and there. Some movies you've never seen, like Whitewater Summer. How about obviously you've seen Tremors the same year, 1990, with Hook star Julia Roberts. Have you seen Flatliners?
Flatliners, explain please.
They are medical students who it's a very 90s 80s premise. They're medical students who decide the best way to experience life is through death, and they kill themselves and are brought back to life over and over again. It's like a thrill thing. It's like them too, and then like I think Kiefer Sutherland's there. I'm not surprised. It's trash. Don't feel bad.
All right.
How about the movie that kind of spurred on the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon just because of how many people are in it? 1991 JFK.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on JFK?
It's kind of coming back around. I know there's,
it's really up its own ass, but I mean,
it is.
But it's entertaining up your own ass. Like it
is. And there's some things that are entertained in that are like
ridiculous.
No.
Yeah.
But I guess there's like here recently they're starting to, some of these files are like coming up on their expiration date of declassification or whatever. Yeah. And some people are kind of like, the first couple of things that are coming out are kind of weird and stuff like that. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But
yeah, I agree. JFK, the cast of JFK is insane. Kevin Costner, Kevin Bacon, Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Oldman, Michael Rooker, Sissy Spacek, Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci is insane in that movie. Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Donald Sutherland, Ed Asner, Brian Doyle Murray, John Candy, Sally Kirkland, Wayne Knight, friggin' Newman is in this movie. John Larroquette pops up, Ron Rifkin, Pete Mahoney, just a Warden Norton from Shawshank is a news anchor in that thing. Wild, a really wild cast. Anyway, so
jeez.
You've seen JFK. So, and you had just mentioned earlier, you have seen A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Okay. You like A Few Good Men? It's a little talky for my taste.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I think it's got really great parts. And then it's got some parts where you just go, oh God.
Yeah.
Like the ending's the worst. Whenever he's like, no, even after that.
Oh, when they still go to jail?
Whenever they still go to jail and they're walking out, and then Tom Cruise is walking out, and they're like, and he goes, attention, there's an officer on deck.
Those hokey
things. It's
the equivalent of one of your favorite scenes. It's like they're trying to be as authentic as your father's stand up, your father's passing from To Kill a Mockingbird. They're trying to do that.
They're attempting that.
And it's
and they don't.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So speaking of movies we liked as kids, the most action-packed Meryl Streep has ever been. How about 1994's The River Wild?
River Wild. Oh yeah.
I love The River Wild.
Yeah. Didn't they? Yeah.
Do you know who Kevin? Oh, so Kevin Bacon has a sidekick, John C. Riley.
God,
And,
I'd have to see it again.
Oh man, River Wild's great. I like the River Wild. It's
Yeah.
it's stupid, but in a good way.
Mhm.
And then 1995, obviously Apollo 13.
Man,
A bang.
one of the most amazing. I mean,
the pinnacle of competency porn, like everybody doing their job correctly, like
yeah, just that. I mean, we absolutely positively have to do that at
we'll
some
do Apollo
point.
13. Yeah. I love Apollo 13.
But
it's man.
God, I mean, it's great. I remember here's how you know something's freaking good. What year did that come out?
95.
95. So I was 11. I remember watching that in theaters.
Really?
All of us. Yep.
I don't remember watching it in theaters.
Yeah. No,
Interesting.
it was that.
Yeah.
It was that little theater off the loop.
Midland, Texas. Yep.
Yeah. And I came out like shivering because, you know, they're at the end, like they're freezing.
Sure.
And I was cold and everything. And I remember thinking as an 11-year-old boy in Midland, Texas, like, damn, that was a good fucking movie. Like,
it's
I didn't have those words.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like, shit, that was good.
You know, sometimes you have those movies like that where you're like, oh man, there's no way that's that good as I remember it. You watch it again, you're like, nope, still incredible. And every time I watch it, it's great.
Yeah.
Pick up on little bitty things more and more, especially the making of that movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, you make 1996 makes Sleepers. I won't include that. There's a couple of trash movies. I don't know if you've seen them. I'll give you the credit. Have you seen Wild Things or Stir of Echoes? Wild Things is like one of those sex movies. You've seen clips of Wild Things, but Stir of Echoes is kind of like a Sixth Sense was the thing we got to cash in on these horror movies. But Stir of Echoes.
Nah, I don't think so.
How about
don't ring no bell?
How about a movie? I'm almost positive another Kuwait classic, Hollow Man.
Yeah.
Hollow Man sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Hollow Man is not good.
That's a thing about living overseas. Whenever you got an American movie channel, whatever's on is what you got.
Yes. It's like after a while, you're like, it's like, well, why are they doing an episode on U.S. Marshals again? It's like, well, just whatever.
Yeah. Wow. It's in English. Shut up.
So probably one of the closest he ever came to an actual Oscar nomination was in 2003, Mystic River.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I loved it when I first watched it, and I've soured on it a little bit lately. Mostly Tim Robbins related, just because he's a little too twitchy for my taste. I'd like to see it again now, like after.
I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a while.
I'm not going to include this, but my favorite performance of Kevin Bacon was in 2004, an extremely rough movie to watch, but a very, very good movie, The Woodsman. It's he plays a child molester who is released after serving 12 years in prison.
Is that a second one?
This one is much more
that's what I'm saying. He's been in 2 movies where he's raping kids, man. Come on, Bacon.
Well, this one was statutory rape, but still, or it's regardless.
Yeah. He's fine then.
It's a tough movie to watch. It's a very good movie. His wife is in it, plays his love interest. I would suggest watching it once and being like, wow, that was really good. Kevin Bacon did a really good job. Never want to see it again. I don't blame you if you don't, but it doesn't get into grimy details. It's just a little uncomfortable, and just the content in general. Exceptional movie though. So then he kind of, after this point, he kind of just hangs out into like random things. Like he shows up in in random things, like they remade Death Sentence and he was in that. That's an odd movie. All sorts of weird stuff like that. Have you seen some of the X-Men movies, like X-Men First Class? It's like young X-Men. I wasn't going to include that one, but I will include this one, a ensemble romantic comedy, probably one of the more palatable romantic comedies, Crazy Stupid Love.
Yeah.
Playing David Lindhagen.
I think I have, but it was kind of like a not really, like I sat through it.
Sure.
I think.
Sure.
Probably with
I don't hate
the old ball and chain.
I don't hate it. It's not bad, but does some interesting things. Okay, and then I just I want to include one more. Seems like something that'd be up your alley. How about the biopic of Whitey Bulger, Black Mass?
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I think like Johnny Depp.
My expectations were extremely high, and so
and I mean, Johnny Depp, he's essentially going to do what he wants to do, and he had an idea of what Whitey Bulger was going to be in that movie, and I don't know if that was that good, but I mean, interesting. It's interesting. A movie like that should be really good, and it just wasn't.
Yeah. Now, I think he should have, if Depp had done more of the what's the one where he's undercover?
Donnie Brasco.
Yes. Donnie
Brasco.
He did that one exceptionally well. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, Black Mass.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So
whatever. Okay.
So, still working steady. I mean, he doesn't need the money. Him and his wife have been in a series of shows over and over again that keep making money. He had a cameo in a Marvel movie, so he's doing just fine. The only of the list I had for you, I had 12 on the list. You got 11 right. You only missed Flatliners. It's not bad. I'm kind of impressed.
Can I get a bonus point?
Sure. What do you got? See what you got here.
Taking Chance.
It's a TV movie. I know you love Taking Chance. It's the only awards he's ever gotten in his career. He won a Golden Globe. I think he won a SAG for it. I know you love Taking Chance, but I don't think you want to watch it again.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No. It was one. Man, we didn't even. I don't think we had kids yet. What year was it?
Taking Chance was 2009.
Yeah, so we didn't even have kids yet because we were both just drunk as hell, and we had rented a DVD.
Drunk watching a movie like that?
Yeah, and we just, I mean,
no.
Yeah, but it's extraordinarily good. It's a very, very, very good movie. But
I've heard that, yes. Yeah, he won a Golden Globe for it. He won a SAG for it. I think they won a Writers Guild for the very, very well acclaimed show. That's probably the closest. That's most of the stuff he's got. And I've heard good things about Taking Chance. So I'll give you the extra point for Taking Chance. So 13 out of 12 out of 13. Now, all right, not great on the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. But
dude, my brain just don't work like that.
I'd like
that's a puzzle.
I agree. Okay. Well, Jake, instead of each episode, instead of me steering the conversation, Jake, you can pepper me with a series of questions that I must answer truthfully. Sometimes it's trivia, sometimes it's not. I believe it's that time.
Yeah, I think you're in the hot box, man. Come on in.
The hot box. What do you have for me today?
All right. So concerning the movie Hook,
okay.
If you could go be a lost boy and never grow up, you could go to Neverland and be a lost boy and never grow up. Would you?
It's
depends on the day.
It's always, what am I doing at work? How much is work pissing me off? It's one of those things. it's always an interesting question when it comes to death and immortality. It's like, well, it's I was telling to my daughter the other day. It's like, man, when you're young, all you want to do is be older, and then when you're older, all you want to do is be young again. And it's just, you're always caught in that middle. And you have now that we have all the responsibilities of being older, we're like, okay, this is all right, but we keep getting older, which sucks. Like, so so the better question, I guess especially as a kid, I would, but I mean, what's the sweet spot age? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
I don't think I'd want to be pubescent. I don't think I'd want puberty to be a factor. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't want to be a teenager. That was miserable.
No, yeah. I think like
even a young adult, maybe like a 25.
Yeah, like.
But you didn't have kids or something.
Yeah, that.
Well, see, and that's the other problem. Then you got to get you don't have kids. And,
and there's all. Yeah, that's. This is why it's a fantasy, because you're like, oh, it's just this world you will never live in.
Yeah, never mind. Let's just stay here, Ben. Okay.
I'm gonna be 36 for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Have you as this episode is coming up, I kept thinking of other movies that might fit in this genre of things that, man, that was awesome when I was a kid, but I don't know that they're bad now. I just haven't seen them since. And so I wonder if they're bad or good.
Yes.
So my examples would be Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes.
And Beethoven.
Okay. Yeah, those are great examples.
So what have there been any movies that you can think of that you loved as a kid, and they may still hold up, they may still be good, or they might be awful, you just haven't seen them since you were like 10?
There are two that I think of immediately. One, we just talked about, Dick Tracy. Like, we wore out Dick Tracy, and it might be shit. Like, I don't know. It might be good. It's the only movie I can think of with Madonna maybe being attractive. Like, and but I mean, all the stuff you think about that movie, you think about the colors and the cop and the cop stuff and Al Pacino screaming and like
it was a lot like what's his name, like Kill Bill,
like Tarantino.
Almost. I mean, obviously Dick Tracy was a comic, sure, but I don't know, I haven't seen it in Dick Tracy probably couldn't even tell you.
Dick Tracy would be one, and the other one that I'm pretty sure, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm not sure I want to watch it, is the movie Milk Money. Do you remember Milk Money?
Yeah.
Now you think about it and you're like, oh no.
It can't be good. That's not
okay, folks.
We watched it at that cabin.
A lot. And I saw it more than a few times. Okay. Folks, if you guys haven't seen Milk Money, a movie that can no longer exist. You want to talk about, oh, they'll never make Blazing Saddles. You know what's not going to be made again? Milk Money. Because the Milk Money is about this kid who, his dad is Ed Harris, and him and his friends decide, you know what? We're adults now. We should see some titties. And this is what we need to do in life. So they get together their Milk Money, and they get it together, and they go and they find a hooker played by Melanie Griffith to see titties. And then, and they do. And then for some reason it devolves to Melanie Griffith should be my new mom. And man, does it go some weird places. I remember at one point she gets slapped by her pimp. Like, I haven't seen it in so long. There's no way it's good. The more I think about it, the more gross it feels. Like,
I don't want to have to go back to therapy. Like,
Milk Money is definitely one of those movies that would
I would be frightened to see that again.
I'm shocked if you can find it anywhere. You say apparently you can watch it on Amazon Prime right now for $4, and I don't think that. I think that's. I'm shocked it's not one of those that's scrubbed from the internet. Like, that's.
Yeah. I'm not paying $4 for it. I'll tell you that
$4 for it either. That's a wild movie. Like, yeah, and wasn't that one? What was the one with the mom? I think it was played by Bernadette Peters, who like they replaced her, like Buy a Mom or Rent a Mom or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I'm gonna find it real quick. Hold please. This is
pause.
Yes. No, I'm gonna find this because she doesn't make a whole lot of movies, so I'm gonna find this movie. It's called
dude, I remember that era.
It might have been it looks like it might have been a TV. Rent a Mom. Lisa Mom. I'm trying to see if it's a real movie, if it was a kids movie, or if it was a TV movie, or if it was a movie like she was like a clown, and she was. Why do I think it was Bernadette Peters? It might not have been Bernadette Peters.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, that probably was Trading Mom.
Trading Mom.
And it was Sissy Spacek.
Of course, Ben.
Yeah, Trading Mom is it's a silly movie. But yeah, that'd probably be another one to be like, I wonder if it's probably crap. So those are my best examples.
Probably.
I'm not going to top Milk Money. So.
No. Yeah. That's probably got it. Shut the fuck up. Have you seen A Man Called Otto?
I have seen A Man Called Otto.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I thought it was well done. It was it takes a second to get on the same page of like, okay, are you okay with this continual suicide attempt? Like, it's pretty dark.
Yes.
I also think in Tom Hanks's character, if any actor is not other than Tom Hanks's son, I think if you put another actor in that role, it's a much better movie.
Yep.
Yeah. But besides that, I liked it. I thought the Mexican family was very good.
Man,
they're
hilarious. I married into a Latino family. I'm telling you, on point. Just that culture of like, we're gonna be up in your business whether you want it or not. Yeah.
And, I also like the
great food.
The little thing, I'm going to keep giving you all this food, and he's like, what is this? And then he's like, oh, this is delicious, I'm going to eat this. But I mean, a little dark movie, another movie that I didn't expect Tom Hanks to actually work well into, and he does really well. You cast anybody else besides his son and probably works better.
Maybe. Yeah. I loved it, but it was couple points. Maybe like
it's like, oh,
it's just the allergies. It's too much cedar in the air.
Yeah, hearing the words, we're gonna spoil it a little bit for you, but hearing the words, Otto didn't shovel his driveway, or like, oh no, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Good movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it.
I liked it too. Good movie.
Yeah. I just don't usually watch new movies, so I thought I'd ask.
There you go.
So who do you think the worst actor in Tremors was?
It's a really good question.
the worst.
Because I don't think it was. I don't necessarily think it was
Supposed to be Will.
I don't think it was Reba McEntire.
Nah.
Fred Ward is fine. I actually like Michael Gross as Bert. I'm gonna go with Bobby Jacoby as Melvin, the teenage kid. He really sucked. Like,
yeah.
Just a little turd of a guy. I did see a little trivia thing that Bert gives Melvin a gun, and it's for the sake of like, oh, I'm going to shoot at the graboid, and it was empty, and he gives him back to him on the rocks. It's like, Melvin, you asshole, this gun's empty. And Bert, being a gun hobbyist, even though he gave him an empty gun, checks, make sure it's empty, and then before even like, hey, that's a nice little
I like that.
I like that. Yeah. But Melvin sucked, and that kid sucked, and
yeah.
But I mean, take your pick. Nobody's really all that good in this movie.
No. All right. So they mentioned multiple times that these creatures, these graboids, they stink.
Yes.
Very bad.
Okay.
What do you imagine that they smell like? That, like, whenever you see it visually, like, you know, bust open and all that stuff, the guts. So visually, what do you imagine that smell is? What can you compare it to?
I always imagine, you know, that smell of just like raw propane, like just like a combination of propane methane, like just that sour gaseous smell. I guess I maybe it's because I associate it so much with like.
Are you thinking more like H2S?
Yeah, like not
like sometimes you go through places in the oil fields and
yes, that's exactly it, because
like rotten egg smell.
Yeah, a little bit, because like when you especially those worms, the worms that come out of it, they're kind of rusty looking and kind of have that, like, it just looks like something like that, like
they're oxidized.
Yeah, when I think of
to rusty.
Those rusty worms. Yeah, but like, yeah, H2S would be a good example.
Okay.
It's like that kind of oil-filled smell you probably get used to if you're like a roustabout. But
yeah.
That's why it's probably now, you know, I'm sure that's not
where your brain goes.
That's where my brain goes. Like I like, yeah, that'd probably be a good way to put it.
Have you ever been in a penguin enclosure?
Can't say I have. Is a penguin enclosure disgustingly bad smelling?
It's one of the most powerful odors I have ever encountered in my life, and I have smelled some stink.
Have you been around a durian? Have you ever been around a durian fruit? Okay.
Yes.
So a durian fruit is up there as far as one of the worst smells. I've smelled some like stuff like that, but I mean, I can't say I know what a penguin enclosure smells like.
Dude, penguins are rough, man.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I mean, God, like, you know, if you go to like the animal shelter or something, there's all these dogs and cats in there. It doesn't smell good, but that's just the way it is.
Sure.
Man, a penguin about knock your head off.
I had a friend who told me about, he used to have a job at a meat processing plant, and his job was to wade into the vat of raw meat. He'd have waders on, and his is just to keep it moving. And
yeah,
I mean, I was like, well, it's like I can't complain too much about like, oh, this job's really killing me.
Let's see.
Yep. No, Tremors is only 96 minutes, and Hook is an hour and hour 15. It's like
yeah, neither one of them are. Yeah.
Yeah, but
let's see. What else was I gonna say? Ben, I don't think I have much else for you, bud.
Oh,
wait,
go ahead.
I just wanted to reference like kind of the time frame of these movies.
Yes.
Was like the first Gulf War was in full swing.
Yes.
George H.W. Bush was the president.
Yes.
Like, it's just crazy to think. I mean, you can watch these movies and we don't think much about it, but then you actually think when these came out and you're like, man, how the world has changed. We probably didn't even have a computer in our house at that point.
Yeah, I just because I was curious, the average price of gasoline, whenever, let's see, so January 1990, gasoline was 79 cents a gallon. And that's whenever Tremors came
Good
out.
Lord.
And then in December of 91, when Hook came out, it inflated to a grand total of 80 cents a gallon. So I mean, so it's a wild thing that's just,
man.
I mean, yeah. So it doesn't feel that long ago. It makes me feel that much older. Like thinking, it's like I watched this all the time when I was a kid, and I'm like, man, was being a kid that long ago?
Yeah. That's a crazy thing. Is like someone will say, "Oh yeah, in '92," and I'm like, whatever. And then I'm like, how long ago was that? That was 20.
The thing that's really messing with me.
How many decades was it?
The thing that's really messing with me is whenever I go to grocery stores and they have the we ID and it says, if not born before this day in 2002, you can't buy alcohol. I'm like, oh no. 2002. That was just a couple.
That's year I graduated high school.
I know it's we're getting older, buddy. I'm sorry. All right. So Jake,
Better in the alternative.
Before we go, what is your film rating of? We'll start with Hook. What's your film rating of Hook?
I still like it. I still think it's a good movie. I'll still defend it.
I feel the same. I got it 3.5 out of 5. Like even the flaws, I can't fault its flaws. Like I'll defend it till the day I die. Just it doesn't matter if it's good. It's what it is. I'll always remember how good it was when I was a kid, how much I loved it.
Yeah.
And all the feelings of that. On the flip side, what's your film rating of Tremors?
Man, I'll give it my first 10 out of 10.
Move aside, cool hand, Luke.
No, it's that same thing. It's just that goofy nostalgia of a dumb movie you used to watch as when you're a kid. It's fucking trash, but it's fun. It doesn't last long. I mean,
the way I review films, my star systems are kind of different than most people's. Like 5 is pretty much, I think it's a perfect film. 4.5 is as close to a perfect film. 4 is a very, very good film. 3.5, I can excuse a lot of flaws, but it's better than most. Most films I watch are 2.5 and 3, just because it's like 2.5. I'm like, I respect the effort, even though I didn't like it. Could be boring, whatever. Crafts are good, whatever. It's well acted. 2.5. A 2 is you tried and you failed badly. 1.5 and 1, and like I'm insulted by what you tried. Tremors is right in that 2.5. Like it's terrible, but it doesn't matter. Like it's just bad. It's bad, but I'm good. Like it should. Like if it's bad, I shouldn't want to watch it so much. Like if it's on TV, I'm gonna turn it on Tremors. Like it's just But
it cost me a roll in the sack one time. So
now I know not what not to watch.
So never mind.
It's so much worse than that. All right, I think that just about does it for this episode of Film Critic, the Common Man. Thank you so very much for joining us. You can follow me on Twitter at NebBizBen, on Letterboxd at Neb10, on Instagram Ben Miller Movies. Check out my website Ice Cream for Freaks. You can follow my other writing in the Film Experience and Cinema Scholars. Speaking of the film experience, I just wrote a review, or excuse me, I just had a podcast with the folks at Cinema Scholars talking about the 2022 Oscars that just happened. Pretty happy with all that. You can also find me on the other pods. I'm the David Thewlis of podcasting. Jake, where can the people find you? I assume pole vaulting rock to rock.
You know it, man.
Where would your go-to place be? Like, would you want to be like if you're on the Lost Boys Island and you had would you want to like a high perch? Would you kind of want to be secluded off by yourself? You're gonna be right in the thick of things.
Get the high ground. They should have done that in Tremors too. Are you telling me these things can burrow all the way through there? Maybe they can. But they can't get through that rock, so go up to the bigger rocks.
That's right. Why are you on the low rocks?
I'll be on the bigger rocks.
Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Critic Comment Pod. Please like, subscribe, rate, and review. Enjoy the show wherever you get your podcast. We're going to do one more of these where we're doubling up. And boy, we got some... we got the man, the myth and legend himself. We got Kevin Costner coming up in our next double episode. Doing Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Waterworld. Just
couple bangers.
we hope you enjoyed this one. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much for joining us.
See ya.
What's the trick? What's the trick? In making my love stick. What's the trick?